just one crop with less use on water. I get excited when we know that our scientists in our research stations are at the cutting edge of new plant gene technology, or when they're actually moving into some of the other spaces like medical research and providing the tools and innovation to help identify plant and animal diseases that also then can be transferred across into the medical sector. That's the DPI that we have in our research space, and that's something that will continue. We have over 1,000 research projects right across New South Wales worth more than $100 million. And a lot of those aren't just DPI. The majority of those are done in collaboration and cooperation with the industry and other agencies. We also want to be able to protect the sector from risks. And one thing that I've said and it's been made very clear to me when becoming Minister was our competitive advantages are around things like our biosecurity and our food safety agencies, and the way that we are able to promote our systems within Australia but also in other parts of the world. You can see a whole lot of work in research and grower engagement and research and development and technology be undone in one biosecurity or food safety outbreak. So it's something that we must always protect. From my own experience, my parents are from Northern Ireland. I was in Ireland when the foot and mouth outbreak occurred, and I guess I've seen firsthand how those sort of things can take a hold of an industry. Having horses on our property as well, we also went through the EI outbreak as well. So we need to make sure that we never compromise on protecting those competitive advantages, because the consequences are absolutely catastrophic and can be catastrophic. So what have we done to date? So that's just roughly about where we play a role. But one of the most, I guess, pleasing things for me coming in to take over from my predecessors, Katrina Hodgkinson and Kevin Humphries, who did a lot of work and a lot of reform and set a lot of the agenda as to where we're heading forward, is to have the Memorandum of Understanding with New South Wales farmers so that we can clearly articulate and agree on what our priorities are. And that's something that I think has been a watershed moment, particularly for this government. We know what to focus on because we know that the relationship with that key stakeholder is something that benefits everyone in this room. 15 key commitments in that MOU, and we've delivered quite a few, and we'll continue to work through the rest as a priority. Firstly, I've just come from this morning the Young Finance Forum, Young Farmer Finance Forum that we've just had the roundtable. Seeing if there are different models and opportunities out there to be able to get the next generation of innovative and energetic farmers spread right throughout our communities is something that we're committed to. We had something similar a few weeks ago with multi-peril crop insurance, and looking at the issue of, I guess, income protection, and seeing if we can play a role to facilitate those conversations, and I'm optimistic about what's going to come out of that. Implementing the $300 million 5-year drought strategy. Again, we're working through the aspects of that. Last week we released the Drought Hub website, which is a key portal for information for anyone that needs to know where to go to get the best advice and assistance, particularly those that are suffering drought. Investigating the issue of right to farm. Again, I live on the Southern Highlands, and this is a genuine and real issue in the area where I live, where we've had people that have been farming for generations, and because of the change in some of the demographics of our areas, some of the practices that they've been doing are now under threat because people are moving into those areas for different reasons, and that's something that we're wanting to address, and watch this space closely because we've been doing some work on that. Extending the flying fox netting program, another delivery out of the MOU, and also the passing of the biosecurity bill, which will go a long way to strengthening biosecurity in New South Wales. So I guess that's roughly what we've done, and now where do we go to from here? We're reform rich in our portfolio. That's the way we look at it. That's the positive way of saying that we've got a lot on our plate, and I see a few smiles from some of the staff that have responsibility in trying to get some of this reform implemented. but we've got plenty of things that we're working through. And again, a lot of this is about improving that economic growth. But one of the key cornerstones that we didn't get done in the last government, that we're hoping to get done this time, is the reforming of the biodiversity laws in New South Wales. That's something that we are lock in step with New South Wales farmers. We know that for too long, particularly our farmers have not been part of the solution of biodiversity. They've been, I think, unfairly criticised as part of the problem. We know that they are great land managers, and I'm optimistic about the future in this space. There's no doubt there's challenges, like there is with any big reform, but we will continue to work with our key stakeholders, like New South Wales farmers, and within other agencies of government, to produce an outcome that hopefully will provide benefit with that triple bottom line approach to those that are affected. We also have, I guess, reforms that are happening in the commercial fishery sector. That's again another difficult space, but when I hear things like 87% of the seafood that goes through the Sydney fish markets is imported product, I just can't understand how we can get to 2015 and be in that sort of a situation. It is the oldest industry in New South Wales to a degree. The first fleet, when they were heading ashore to have a look for fresh water, they were throwing nets out the back of the boats, and they were catching some of the same species that we're catching today. So that's a good sign that there is, I guess, some sustainability there. But it's about trying to make sure that we get those hunters and gatherers, the wild catch and the commercial fishers in a way that provides them some certainty going forward into their sector, and that's what that reform will be about. Future directions for the forestry sector, we know that in some parts of the state they're doing it tough as well. We need to provide some certainty in particularly the hardwood sector, and we're doing a body of work on that. And also regional water. We're looking at developing a blueprint for regional water. For a long time we've been spending money on infrastructure in our regional communities. We need to look at this holistically. We need to have a blueprint as to where we head into this space for the irrigation and the productive water, but also for our regional communities. Land use conflict is something that we also need to do more work on, and it is happening at a rapid rate of knots. That's something, again, we need to have been better in that space. It's something that we are working with the other ministers and other agencies to try and provide some better outcomes, particularly for our producers across the state. Obviously, the improvement and the continuation of the services for our producers across New South Wales. I'm hoping that we will have an announcement very soon about the Chair of Chairs for local land services, and we'll continue to build upon the fantastic people we have within local land services to make a difference in a lot of our regional communities. And also continue to support those farmers, like things with our drought strategy and our multi-peril crop insurance, those sort of areas where we can support our producers, and again making sure that we drive that economic growth, and that's where the DPI strategic plan will really come in. I'm going to keep it relatively brief, as I said. I've probably gone over time as it is, but this is our opportunity and this is our time. There has never been, I think, a better time to be in the primary industry sector. We have great opportunity with natural resources. There's good prices. There's an increased appetite from some of our closest neighbours for our commodities. But I think more than ever we're seeing a real swell amongst the general population throughout New South Wales, here in the cities and in our regions, for the licence to farm, the social licence to get in behind those people that are running those small businesses or those larger enterprises that are employing people in our regional communities and producing the clean, the safe and the top quality food and fibre that maybe they've taken for granted in the past. And doesn't matter what has triggered that conversation or what has triggered that mentality or that feeling, whether it is through land use conflict, whether it is through some of those risks to the industry like a food safety scare or an outbreak, it's our job to capitalise on that opportunity. We've got a window, I think, when we'll look back in history to say this is where the turning moment was. This is where innovation and technology kicked in. This is where we took the community along with us, and this is where we capitalised on all of the opportunities we have there before us. No better way to celebrate those aspects today than with the Farmer of the Year Awards. And it's an absolute pleasure to be able to sit at the table with the 3 finalists, have a conversation about their enterprises. I've listened and read some of their stories, heard them on radio. That epitomises the opportunity that we have here today. So today is we're celebrating the sector, but also those that we're going to reward today. It's about saying we've had a great year, but next year provides more opportunity. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today, and congratulations and good luck to all of our finalists. Thank you.